The old clock in the town square chimed 6 times, a sound Alara knew as intimately as her own heartbeat. It was a deep, resonant tone, echoing through the quiet streets of Oakhaven, a town nestled between the whispering embrace of ancient oak forests and the gentle sigh of the sea. For Alara, a woman whose world revolved around the quiet rustle of turning pages and the comforting scent of aged paper, this daily chime was a signal. 6 o'clock meant the library doors were locked, the last patron had departed, and her own quiet evening could begin. She loved her job at the Oakhaven Public Library. There was a unique satisfaction in mending a torn spine, in carefully cataloging a newly donated collection, in recommending the perfect book to a hesitant reader. But there was another love, equally profound, that called to her each evening. It was the Oakhaven Public Gardens, and more specifically, a secluded bench beneath the grand weeping willow that overlooked a small lily-pad-dotted pond. Today, like most days, Alara shed her sensible librarian cardigan for a softer shawl, exchanged her practical shoes for worn leather boots, and stepped out into the crisp autumn air. The sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of soft peach and lavender. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves, carrying the faint briny scent of the nearby ocean. Oakhaven was a place where time seemed to slow, where the rhythm of life was dictated by the turning seasons and the quiet hum of community. It suited Alara perfectly. Her walk to the gardens was a familiar comfort. She passed Mrs. Gable's bakery, where the scent of warm apple pie wafted from an open window, and nodded to Mr. Henderson, who was meticulously sweeping the porch of his antique shop. Everyone knew Alara, the quiet librarian with the kind eyes and the ready smile. They knew she loved her books, and they knew she loved her willow tree. As she pushed open the ornate iron gates of the public gardens, a sigh of contentment escaped her lips. The gardens were a riot of autumnal color, goldenrod, crimson maples, and the deep purples of late-blooming asters. But her destination was the willow, its long, graceful branches sweeping down like a verdant curtain, creating a private sanctuary. She settled onto the weathered wooden bench, the spot perfectly indented from years of use. It was a hearing spot. Here, the world outside melted away. Here, she could read, or simply watch the dragonflies darting over the pond, or listen to the secret murmurs of the wind through the leaves. It was a place for quiet contemplation, for unwinding the tightly wound threads of a day. Today, however, her quiet ritual was gently interrupted. As her hand brushed the smooth surface of the bench, her fingers encountered something unexpected. It was a small, smooth river stone, nestled right in the center of the seat cushion. And tucked beneath it, a folded piece of paper. Alara's brow furrowed in a moment of surprise. This had never happened before. She picked up the stone, feeling its cool weight, then unfolded the paper. It was a simple, unlined square, torn neatly from a larger sheet. The handwriting was elegant, slightly slanted, and undeniably masculine. The way the light filters through the willow's leaves at this hour, it's like watching secrets being whispered. A small surprised smile touched Alara's lips. She looked up at the very light the note described, dappled and golden, dancing across the pond's surface. It was a perfect observation, one she had often made herself, though never voiced. Who could have left it? And why? She turned the paper over, but there was no name, no clue. Just the single, evocative sentence. A warmth spread through her chest, a feeling akin to finding a forgotten bookmark in a beloved novel. It was a small, sweet mystery. For a long moment, Alara simply sat, the note clutched in her hand. The sun dipped lower, painting the water in deeper shades of rose and gold. She felt a lightness, an unexpected lift to her spirits. The anonymity of the gesture made it all the more charming. There was no expectation, no demand, just a shared moment of beauty. She tucked the note into her pocket, a new, gentle secret to keep. She stayed until the last sliver of sun had vanished, and the first stars began to prick the deepening twilight sky. As she walked home, the river stone now resting on her bedside table, she found herself wondering about the person who had left it. Was it a man or a woman? Someone new to Oakhaven or someone she already knew, perhaps even nodded to on the street? The thought was a pleasant hum beneath the surface of her quiet evening. The next day passed in its usual rhythm of library duties. Alara helped a young student research a school project, advised a senior citizen on the latest historical fiction, and spent a focused hour mending the binding of a treasured first edition. Yet, beneath it all, a quiet anticipation stirred within her. She found herself looking forward to her evening ritual more than usual. When 6 o'clock chimed, she practically floated out of the library, the autumn breeze feeling crisp and invigorating. The garden was bathed in the same soft, late afternoon light. Her heart gave a little flutter as she approached the willow bench. And there it was. Another river stone, slightly larger than the first, and another folded note beneath it. Ilara's smile widened. She felt a spark of delight, like a child discovering a hidden treasure. She sat down, carefully unwrapping the paper. I often wonder if the books you read here are as captivating as the view, or perhaps the view inspires the stories you wish to read. This one was even more personal. It suggested observation, a recognition of her presence and her habits. He knew she read here. He knew she loved books. Thought sent a blush creeping up her neck. This was no random act, it was directed at Ashuri. She scanned the garden, a nervous little thrill dancing in her stomach. Had he been here earlier? Was he watching now? She saw only the usual elderly couple strolling arm in arm, and a young mother pushing a pram. No one lingered near the willow. Ilara sat for a long time, the note held delicately between her fingers. This secret admirer, this whisperer of words, was creating a fascinating new layer to her quiet life. She felt seen, in a way she hadn't realized she longed to be. It wasn't a grand declaration, but a gentle acknowledgement of her presence, her inner world. An idea sparked. She couldn't simply leave without a reply. It felt rude, almost dismissive of this intriguing overture. But what to say? And how to leave it? She rummaged in her small satchel, pulling out a small, smooth piece of parchment she used for jotting down book recommendations, and a slender fountain pen. She hesitated, then began to write, her script neat and flowing, but less formal than her library hand. Sometimes the view is the best story of all, and sometimes the stories bring the view to life. She folded carefully, then looked around for a suitable place. She couldn't just leave it on the bench, exposed to the elements or curious eyes. She noticed a small hollowed-out knot in the gnarled bark of the willow tree, just at eye level when seated. Perfect. Gosh. It was discreet, a little secret cubby. She placed her note inside, tucked it deep, and then gently pushed the river stone she had found earlier against the opening, as if to guard it. A sense of playful satisfaction bloomed within her. She was now part of this gentle, unfolding mystery. Over the next few weeks, the whispers became a cherished part of Ilara's life. Each evening she would find a new note, a new river stone. And each evening she would leave a reply, tucked into the willow's secret knot. The notes were never overtly romantic, but they were deeply observant, poetic, and increasingly revealing of a shared sensibility. I saw you sketching the lilies today. Do you capture their quiet grace on paper, or merely observe it? He had seen her sketching. Ilara had blushed furiously at that, realizing her private sanctuary wasn't quite as private as she thought. She replied, both. Observation is the beginning of understanding, and sketching helps me truly see. The book you were reading yesterday, The Secret Garden, is one of my favorites. Perhaps this garden holds its own secrets, waiting to be discovered. He knew what she was reading. Her heart did a little flip. She replied, indeed. Every garden, every book, holds a world of secrets. Some are revealed, some are only whispered. Through these quiet exchanges, Ilara began to build a picture of her anonymous correspondent. He was perceptive, gentle, and clearly loved the same things she did. Nature, books, quiet beauty, the subtle magic of Oakhaven. He seemed to possess a thoughtful, introspective nature, a kindred spirit. She started to unconsciously look for him. In the library she would glance up from her work, wondering if the man browsing the poetry section, or the one lingering near the new arrivals, could be him. On her walks she would scan the faces of passers-by, searching for a spark of recognition, a hint of the elegant handwriting she now knew so well. He remained elusive. Sometimes she would arrive at the bench to find the stone and note already there, meaning he had been there earlier. Other times she would leave her note, and when she returned the next day her reply would be gone, replaced by his new message. It was a dance of near misses, a charming game of hide and seek. One particularly blustery afternoon, as autumn deepened into winter's chill, Ilara found a note that felt different, more vulnerable. The wind sings a lonely song today. It makes one long for the warmth of a shared fire. A quiet conversation. I wonder if you feel it too. Elara's heart ached with a sudden, profound empathy. She didn't feel it. The cold wind often made her yearn for a deeper connection, a companion to share the quiet moments. This note wasn't just an observation. It was a glimpse into his own longing. She wrote her reply with a renewed sense of purpose. E. The wind does indeed carry a certain yearning. But even alone, there is warmth in knowing another feels the same song, she added, almost impulsively. She tucked it into the willow, her fingers trembling slightly with the boldness of her words. Had she been too forward? Would he be deterred? A nervous flutter accompanied her home that evening. The next day, a light dusting of snow had fallen overnight, transforming Oakhaven into a sparkling, hushed wonderland. The branches of the willow were tipped with white, and the pond was a sheet of delicate ice. Elara bundled up warmly, her breath misting in the cold air, and hurried to the gardens. As she approached the bench, she saw it immediately. Not just a river stone, but a small, perfectly carved wooden bird, resting on the cushion, its wings delicately spread. And beneath it, his note. Her fingers were almost too cold to unfold the paper. But she managed. Your words brought warmth to the coldest morning. The thought of hearing that song together, it stays with me. This little bird is for you, a small token of the songs yet to be sung. I find myself hoping our paths might cross, not just in these whispers, but in the open air. Perhaps by the old lighthouse on Saturday, when the sun begins to set. No pressure, only a hope. Ah. Elara gasped softly, a cloud of white breath escaping her lips. A meeting. An invitation. Her heart began to pound a joyful rhythm against her ribs. The carved bird felt smooth and warm in her palm, a tangible piece of him. It was a little wren, a symbol of companionship and joy. She looked towards the old lighthouse, its white beacon standing sentinel on the distant bluff, stark against the steel-gray winter sky. Saturday. Sunset. Her mind raced with 1,000 questions, 1,000 possibilities. Who was he? What would he be like? Would he be disappointed by her? A wave of nerves washed over her, quickly followed by a rush of exhilarated anticipation. This was it. The whispers, the shared moments, the gentle mystery, it was all leading to this. The thought of finally putting a face to the words, a voice to the whispers, filled her with a thrilling mixture of fear and excitement. She clutched the little wooden bird tightly, its warmth a promise against the cold. The quiet hum of Oakhaven suddenly felt vibrant with possibility. Elara followed the cobblestone path that wound through the town square, her gaze scanning the familiar faces, yet searching for one she'd never truly seen. The old fountain, usually a soothing murmur, seemed to bubble with an almost mischievous energy. She stopped beneath the sprawling branches of the ancient oak tree that gave the town its name, its leaves rustling like 1,000 hushed secrets. This was the spot he had mentioned in his last, whispered message, a place of quiet beauty, a crossroads of memory. Her heart fluttered like the wings of the little wooden bird she still held, its smooth surface growing warmer in her palm. A few moments passed, stretching into an eternity of anticipation. She wondered if she'd missed him, if he was already there, hidden in plain sight, perhaps watching her as he had so many times before. A self-conscious flush crept up her neck. What if he saw her and decided she wasn't what he expected? What if Ohei wasn't what Omishe expected? Then a gentle clearing of a throat from behind the thick trunk of the oak. Elara spun around, her breath catching. Standing there, bathed in the dappled sunlight filtering through the leaves, was a man. He was tall, not overtly so, but with an easy grace to his posture. His hair, a rich chestnut brown, had a slight wave to it, falling just over his forehead. But it was his eyes that truly captivated her, a warm, intelligent hazel, crinkling at the corners as a hesitant smile played on his lips. They held a familiar kindness, a depth she instinctively recognized. He wore a simple, dark blue shirt that brought out the color in his eyes, and comfortable-looking trousers. There was nothing flashy about him, only a quiet elegance that suited the gentle nature of his whispers. In his hand, he held a small, intricately carved wooden bird, a perfect match to the one Elara clutched. Elara! His voice, a soft baritone, was exactly as she'd imagined, full of warmth and a comforting resonance. Hearing it directed at her, not just a disembodied whisper, sent a delicious shiver down her spine. Yes, she managed, her own voice a little breathy. And you. He took a step forward, his smile widening, revealing a charming dimple in his left cheek. Leo, it's truly wonderful to finally meet you, Elara. Her name, spoken by him, felt like a melody. She felt a lightness in her chest, a sense of rightness that settled deep in her bones. All the anxiety seemed to melt away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief and joy. He wasn't a stranger. He was simply Leo, the man whose words had woven themselves into the fabric of her days. Leo, she repeated, testing the name on her tongue. It felt good. I can't believe this is real. She held up her wooden bird, a silent testament to their shared journey. He gestured to his own. A small gift from a friend who understands the quiet magic of things. I thought it fitting. His gaze met hers, clear and steady. I've wanted to do this for a long time. Why now? She asked, the question tumbling out before she could censor it. Leo's eyes softened. Because I couldn't bear to wait any longer. And because, well, you sounded like you needed a friend to step out of the shadows. That last whisper about the bookstore and the rain, it held a beautiful melancholy. I wanted to tell you in person that the sun always comes out again. Elara felt a lump form in her throat. Harding listened. He had truly heard her, not just the words, but the emotions beneath them. It was profoundly comforting. Thank you, she whispered, her eyes glistening. I think I really did need to hear that. A comfortable silence settled between them, not awkward, but filled with the unspoken understanding of two souls finally connecting after a long, patient wait. The breeze rustled the oak leaves, and the scent of damp earth and blooming petunias drifted through the air. So, Leo began, breaking the spell gently, what do we do now that the mystery is solved? A playful glint entered his eyes. Elara laughed, a genuine, unburdened sound. I suppose we could start by actually talking, without the aid of a strategically placed bush or a helpful gust of wind. He chuckled, a warm, rich sound that made her stomach do a little flip. An excellent suggestion. Are you hungry, Elara? There's a wonderful little cafe just around the corner. The Daily Grind that makes the best cinnamon rolls in Oakhaven. Cinnamon rolls sound perfect, she agreed, her heart soaring. This was it. The first step into a new, wonderful chapter. As they walked, side by side, towards the cafe, Elara found herself stealing glances at Leo. He was even more charming in person. His movements were easy, his presence calming. She noticed the way his gaze lingered on the details of the town, the vibrant window boxes, the intricate ironwork on an old lamppost, suggesting a thoughtful, observant nature just like his whispers. Inside the Daily Grind, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods enveloped them. It was a cozy spot, with mismatched wooden tables and shelves filled with well-loved books. They found a quiet corner table by a window, the sunlight streaming in, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny golden fairies. Once they had ordered 2 cinnamon rolls and 2 coffees, black for him, with a splash of milk for her, they settled into conversation. It felt surprisingly natural, as if they'd been doing this for years. So, you're the elusive whisperer of Oakhaven, Elara teased gently, stirring her coffee. Leo leaned back, a modest smile playing on his lips. And you're the captivating listener. It began quite by accident, you know. I moved here about a year ago, seeking a quieter life after a hectic few years in the city. Oakhaven seemed perfect. I work from home. I'm a landscape architect. Mostly design work these days, and I spent a lot of time exploring the town. I first saw you in the town square sketching by the fountain. I first saw you in the town square, sketching by the fountain. Your concentration was so absolute. Elara felt a blush rise to her cheeks. You saw me sketching? She was a freelance illustrator, creating whimsical designs for children's books and greeting cards. It was her passion, her solace. Many times, he confirmed, his eyes warm. And then, one day, I overheard you talking to yourself, muttering about a difficult design, a tricky perspective. I was hidden behind the rose bushes, admiring the fountain, and a thought just slipped out. a small suggestion about the play of light on water. I didn't mean for you to hear me, truly. But you paused, looked around, and then, a little while later, I saw you incorporate something like it into her sketch. It was fascinating. He took a sip of his coffee, his gaze thoughtful. It became a little game after that. I'd see you often in moments of quiet contemplation or gentle frustration, and a thought, a quote, a small observation would form. Sometimes I'd whisper it, hoping the wind would carry it, hoping it might offer a tiny spark of comfort or inspiration. I never intended to be intrusive. Elara listened, completely captivated. It made so much sense now. The gentle nature of his whispers, the way they always seemed to resonate with her unspoken thoughts. He hadn't been a stalker or a prankster. He'd been a kindred spirit, observing her with quiet admiration. "And the wooden birds?" she asked, holding hers up. "Ah, those," Leo said, his eyes twinkling. "I carve them. It's a hobby, something I picked up from my grandfather. Each one is unique, made from different woods I find on my walks. I thought it would be a subtle way to let you know it was me, if you ever found one. I'd leave them in places I knew you frequented, hoping you'd find one, and perhaps, eventually, connect the dots." Elara's heart swelled. He had put so much thought, so much care, into their anonymous connection. It was incredibly sweet. "I found the first one in the little alcove by the library, after that whisper about lost dreams and new beginnings. I remember," he murmured. "You looked a little down that day. I hoped the bird and the message might lift your spirits." Their cinnamon rolls arrived, warm and fragrant, slathered in sweet, creamy frosting. As they ate, they continued to talk, dipping into deeper subjects with an ease that belied their brand-new in-person acquaintance. Leo spoke of his transition from the bustling city, where he'd felt increasingly disconnected, to the peaceful rhythm of Oakhaven. He'd found solace in his work, in nature, and in the quiet community. He'd lost his parents a few years ago, and the city had held too many sharp memories. Oakhaven was a fresh start, a balm for his soul. Elara, in turn, shared her own story. She'd moved to Oakhaven after finishing art school, drawn by its charm and its supportive artistic community. Her parents were supportive, but lived in a different state, and sometimes, the quiet independence of her life felt a little too quiet, a little too independent. She spoke of her love for illustration, the joy of bringing stories to life with her drawings, and the occasional struggles with self-doubt that every artist faced. "Your work is beautiful, Elara," Leo said, meeting her gaze across the table. "I've admired some of your pieces in the gallery downtown, the ones with the whimsical creatures and the starry skies. There's such a gentle hope in them." Her cheeks flushed again, but this time it was with warmth, not embarrassment. "You've seen my work?" "Of course," he replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I've been learning about Oakhaven, and about you for a while now. I even bought one of your prints, the one with the little fox gazing at the moon. It hangs in my studio. It brings a smile to my face every time I see it." Elara felt a profound sense of being seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long while. Not just seen in passing, but understood. It was an intoxicating feeling. They spent the better part of the morning in the daily grind, the coffee growing cold, the cinnamon rolls long gone, but the conversation flowing effortlessly. They discovered a shared love for classic literature, a mutual appreciation for quiet evenings, and a surprisingly similar taste in cheesy 80s movies. Leo had a dry wit that perfectly complemented Elara's more overt, bubbly humor. He listened with an intensity that made her feel valued, his hazel eyes reflecting her words back to her with understanding. As the lunchtime crowd began to fill the cafe, they decided to take their conversation elsewhere. "Would you like to see a bit more of Oakhaven?" Leo suggested, pushing his chair back. "There's a lovely walking trail along the river just beyond the old mill. It's particularly beautiful this time of year." "I'd love that," Elara said, gathering her small satchel. The thought of spending more time with him, exploring the town she loved, filled her with a delicious anticipation. The walking trail was indeed beautiful. Sunlight dappled through the leaves of ancient trees, painting shifting patterns on the path. The river flowed gently beside them, its surface glinting like scattered diamonds. Leo pointed out various plants and trees, sharing fascinating facts about their growth and history, his passion for landscape evident in every word. He spoke of the importance of preserving natural beauty, of creating spaces where people could feel connected to the earth. Ilara found herself captivated, not just by the scenery, but by the depth of his knowledge and the quiet sincerity of his passion. She shared stories of her own, of finding inspiration for her illustrations in the patterns of leaves and the colors of wildflowers. They discovered they both had a particular fondness for the way light filtered through autumn foliage, and the hush that falls over the world after a fresh snowfall. They walked for what felt like hours, the world outside their conversation fading into a gentle blur. The initial shyness had completely dissipated, replaced by a comfortable intimacy that felt both new and deeply familiar. Leo's hand brushed hers once as they navigated a narrow part of the path, and a spark, warm and sweet, shot through her. She wondered if he felt it too. As they emerged from the trail near the edge of town, the afternoon sun was beginning its slow descent, painting the sky in hues of orange and soft pink. "I've had a truly wonderful day, Leo," Ilara said, turning to him, a genuine smile lighting up her face. He met her gaze, his own eyes alight. "Me too, Ilara. More wonderful than I could have imagined." He hesitated for a moment, then reached into his pocket. I have something for you." He pulled out another small wooden bird, this one carved from a lighter wood, perhaps birch, and intricately detailed with tiny, almost imperceptible wings. It was a soaring bird, captured in mid-flight. "This one," he explained, his voice a little softer, "is meant to represent freedom, new beginnings, and the courage to take flight. I started it a few weeks ago when I was contemplating finally introducing myself. I hoped it would be a good omen." Ilara took the bird, her fingers tracing its smooth, delicate form. It was exquisite, a testament to his talent and his thoughtfulness. "It's beautiful, Leo. Thank you." Her voice was thick with emotion. He smiled, a genuine, heartwarming smile that reached his eyes. "You're welcome. And, Ilara, I know this is a lot to ask after just one meeting, but would you consider having dinner with me, tomorrow evening, perhaps? There's a lovely little Italian place downtown, Bella Luna, that makes the best pasta carbonara this side of Rome." Ilara's heart did another little leap. Dinner, died. A real date. The thought filled her with a warmth that spread through her entire being. "I would love to, Leo," she said, her voice clear and steady. "More than anything." He looked visibly relieved, a gentle flush rising on his cheeks. "Wonderful. I'll pick you up at 7. 7 sounds perfect." She gave him her address, her mind already buzzing with excitement. As they said their goodbyes, a comfortable warmth settled between them. Ilara felt a profound sense of happiness, a quiet certainty that something truly special had just begun. Leo walked her back to the edge of the town square, their steps echoing softly on the cobblestones. Before they parted ways, he paused. "Ilara," he said, his voice a gentle murmur, "thank you for listening. And for being you." Then, with a final warm smile, he turned and walked away, disappearing around the corner, leaving Ilara standing beneath the ancient oak tree, 2 wooden birds clutched in her hand, a wide, joyful smile on her face. The hum of Oakhaven truly felt vibrant now, not just with possibility, but with the sweet, unfolding promise of a beautiful love story. She walked home in a daze, every detail of their meeting replaying in her mind. His kind eyes, his gentle humor, the way he spoke about his passions, the thoughtful gifts. It was all so much more than she could have ever hoped for. The fear of disappointment had vanished completely, replaced by an overwhelming sense of gratitude and excitement. He was everything she had imagined, and more. He was real. Back in her cozy cottage, Ilara carefully placed the 2 wooden birds on her bedside table, nestled beside a small potted succulent. She stared at them, symbols of a connection born from whispers and quiet observation, now blossoming into something tangible and real. She felt a lightness in her step as she moved about her small home, preparing a simple dinner, her mind already drifting to tomorrow evening. The hours passed quickly, filled with a delightful anticipation. She chose her outfit for dinner with meticulous care, selecting a soft, flowing dress in a deep emerald green that she knew complemented her eyes. She even spent a little extra time sketching, her pen moving with renewed energy, inspired by the day's events. The creatures on her page seemed to dance with a newfound joy, their eyes sparkling with the same hope that now filled her own heart. As night fell, Ilara found herself curled up in her armchair by the window, gazing out at the star-dusted Oakhaven sky. The moon, a silver crescent, hung serenely above the rooftops. She thought of Leo, wondering what he was doing, if he was thinking of her too. The thought made her smile, a soft, contented curve of her lips. This wasn't just a meeting, it was an affirmation. An affirmation that patience could be rewarded, that quiet connections could grow into something profound, and that sometimes the most unexpected paths lead to the most beautiful destinations. She closed her eyes, clutching a small, smooth stone she often kept in her pocket for comfort, and let the day's memories wash over her, a warm, comforting wave. The whispers had ceased, replaced by a voice, a face, a real man. And yet, the magic hadn't faded. It had simply transformed, deepened, becoming more vibrant and real than she could have ever imagined. The future, once a hazy landscape, now sparkled with the clear promise of shared laughter, quiet understanding, and the sweet, unfolding journey of two hearts that had found their way home to each other. Tomorrow, another chapter would begin, and Alara knew with a certainty that hummed through her veins that it would be just as wonderful as today. She drifted off to sleep, a smile still on her face, dreaming of hazel eyes and cinnamon rolls, of river walks and soaring wooden birds, and the gentle, comforting presence of a man who had waited patiently in the wings, ready to step into her world. The first sliver of dawn, a soft peach blush, crept through Alara's curtains, painting her room with a gentle light. She stirred, a warmth unfurling in her chest that had nothing to do with the morning sun. Her eyes fluttered open, and the lingering scent of cinnamon, mixed with a faint earthy aroma she now associated with Liam, seemed to cling to her sheets. A smile, easy and unbidden, stretched across her lips. It wasn't just a dream, she realized, her fingers tracing the outline of her own smile. It was real. The riverwalk, the shared stories, the quiet understanding that had bloomed between them like a late summer rose. She remembered the way his hazel eyes had crinkled at the corners when he laughed, the patient cadence of his voice, the comforting weight of his presence beside her. And the bird, the exquisite wooden bird, perched on her bedside table, a silent testament to a connection she hadn't dared to hope for. She stretched, a languid arch of her back, feeling refreshed in a way she hadn't in years. The usual morning rush, the mental list of tasks for the crumbly corner, seemed to wait patiently, dimmed by the glow of anticipation. She reached for her phone, half expecting nothing, half hoping for a tiny spark. A message. From Liam. Her heart did a little skip. "Good morning, Alara. Hope you slept well. Thought of you when I saw the mist on the river this morning, Liam." Simple, understated, yet it held a warmth that seeped into her bones. He had thought of her. He had seen the river. She typed her reply, a small blush creeping up her neck. "Good morning, Liam. I slept wonderfully, thank you. And I dreamt of cinnamon rolls and wooden birds. Did the river look as beautiful as it did yesterday?" She set the phone down, a pleasant flutter in her stomach, and swung her legs out of bed. The day hadn't even truly begun, and already it felt different. Brighter. More promising. After a quick shower and dressing in her usual comfortable but chic bakery attire, a sky blue linen dress and a crisp white apron, Alara made her way to the crumbly corner. The scent of yeast and sugar, her constant companions, greeted her like old friends. Her small team, Maya and Ben, were already bustling, prepping doughs and firing up the ovens. "Morning, boss," Ben called out, flour dusting his hair like snow. "Someone's looking extra cheerful today." Alara just laughed, a genuine light sound. "Just a good night's sleep, Ben. And the promise of fresh cinnamon buns." She threw herself into her work, kneading dough with practiced ease, the rhythm of her hands a familiar comfort. Yet even amidst the comforting routine, Liam's image kept surfacing. The way his hand had brushed hers when he gave her the bird. The gentle curve of his smile. She found herself humming a little tune, something she hadn't done in ages. Mid-morning, while glazing a tray of apple tarts, her phone vibrated again. "Liam, it did. Though not quite as beautiful without you there to share it with. My workshop feels a little quieter today." Alara's cheeks warmed. He was charming and honest. "Alara, that's very sweet, Liam. The bakery is certainly less quiet, but perhaps a little less interesting without a certain woodcarver to distract me." She pressed send, a playful note in her voice she hadn't realized she possessed. It was exhilarating, this gentle dance of words, each message a tiny thread weaving them closer. The rest of the morning passed in a productive blur of baking, serving customers, and the delightful aroma of fresh bread. Each time the bell above the door chimed, Alara found herself glancing up, a tiny spark of hope igniting, even though she knew Liam wouldn't just show up unannounced. Not yet, anyway. Meanwhile, across town, in his sun-dappled workshop filled with the comforting scent of cedar and pine, Liam ran a callous thumb over the smooth curve of a half-finished bird's wing. His mind, usually absorbed in the intricate details of his craft, kept drifting. To Alara. To her bright, curious eyes. To the way her laughter had filled the air yesterday, like a melody. He'd woken up with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in a long time. The mist on the river, usually a solitary pleasure, now felt incomplete without her. He found himself smiling at his phone, a rare occurrence for the usually reserved woodcarver. Her reply had brought a genuine chuckle to his lips. Less interesting without a certain woodcarver to distract me. She was witty, and she seemed to enjoy his company. That was a good sign. He spent the morning carefully sanding a small, intricately carved fox, its fur detailed with delicate grooves. Usually he'd lose himself completely in the work, but today, Alara's presence lingered. He imagined her in her bakery, surrounded by the warm scents he'd caught a whiff of yesterday. He wondered what she was baking, what stories she was telling her customers. He felt a pull, a quiet urge to see her again. Not just a walk, but something more. Something that would allow them to really talk, to delve deeper. He picked up his phone again. Liam, I'm glad to hear I missed, even amidst the wonders of the crumbly corner. I was hoping to rectify that situation. Would you be free later this afternoon, perhaps for a proper cup of coffee or tea? Or, if you're feeling adventurous, I could offer you a tour of my rather dusty workshop. It's not quite as fragrant as your bakery, but it has its own charm. He hesitated for a moment, wondering if offering his workshop was too much, too soon. But he wanted her to see his world, just as he was eager to explore hers. He wanted her to understand his passion, the quiet solace he found in shaping wood. The reply came almost instantly. Alara, a tour of your workshop sounds absolutely wonderful, Liam. I'd love to see where the magic happens. What time works best for you? I finish up around 5 today. A wave of quiet pleasure washed over Liam. She was eager. That was a very good sign indeed. Liam, 5 it is then. I'll make sure the dust bunnies are somewhat contained. Looking forward to it, Alara. He put his phone down, a renewed energy pulsing through him. He meticulously tidied his workshop, sweeping wood shavings into neat piles, organizing tools, and even wiping down his workbench. He wanted it to be presentable, a reflection of the care he put into his craft. He even found himself choosing a clean, unsplintered apron to wear. Alara, too, found herself buzzing with a quiet excitement as the afternoon hours ticked by. Her hands flew through her tasks, her mind already anticipating the visit to Liam's workshop. She imagined the tools, the different types of wood, the projects he was currently working on. It felt like a privilege, an invitation into a part of his world he didn't share with just anyone. When 5 o'clock finally arrived, Alara bid her team goodbye, a skip in her step. She quickly changed out of her work clothes into a comfortable pair of jeans and a soft cream-colored sweater, wanting to feel relaxed and approachable. She glanced at herself in the mirror, smoothed her hair, and took a deep breath. This wasn't just another friendly encounter. It felt like a step forward, a deeper exploration. Liam's workshop was nestled down a quiet lane, a little off the main thoroughfare, behind a row of older, charming brick buildings. It was an unassuming building, but as Alara approached, she could hear the faint, rhythmic tap-tap of a chisel, a sound that spoke of meticulous work and focused dedication. She knocked gently on the heavy wooden door, and after a moment, it swung open. Liam stood there, a faint dusting of sawdust on his dark hair, a soft smile gracing his lips. He was wearing a simple denim shirt, sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms, and a leather apron. The scent of wood, richer and more complex than she'd imagined, enveloped her. Alara, he said, his voice warm, his hazel eyes crinkling at the corners. Welcome. Liam, she replied, her voice a little breathy, taking in the sight of him, so at home in his element. It smells wonderful in here. He chuckled, stepping aside to let her in. That's the scent of 1,000 trees, patiently waiting to become something new. Come in, make yourself at home. The workshop was a revelation. It was larger than she'd expected, filled with natural light streaming in from tall windows. Tools of every shape and size hung neatly on pegboards, glinting softly. Shelves lined the walls, laden with blocks of wood, oak, cherry, walnut, mahogany, each with its own distinct grain and hue. Half-finished sculptures sat on various workbenches, a graceful heron, a family of playful otters, and another, larger bird, its wings spread wide as if in mid-flight. Wow, Ilara breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. This is incredible, Liam. It's magical. Liam's smile deepened, a hint of pride in his eyes. Thank you. It's where I spend most of my days, my sanctuary. He gestured around. This is my main workbench. I do most of my carving here. He pointed to a collection of chisels, mallets, and carving knives. These are my trusted companions. Ilara walked slowly, reverently, touching a smooth piece of sanded wood, admiring the intricate details of a carved leaf. How did you get into this, Liam? It's such a specialized art. He leaned against a sturdy workbench, his gaze sweeping over his tools with affection. My grandfather was a carpenter. I spent my childhood summers in his workshop, watching him, learning to appreciate the beauty of wood. He taught me the basics, how to listen to the grain, how to let the wood guide you. But carving, that came later. It started as a hobby, a way to unwind after a demanding job in architecture. Eventually, it just took over. I realized I was happier shaping wood than designing buildings. Ilara nodded, understanding. That makes sense. It's like my bakery. It started as a passion, a way to create. And then one day it just became my whole world. It's incredibly fulfilling to do something you truly love, isn't it? It is, Liam agreed, his eyes meeting hers, a shared understanding passing between them. And it's a constant learning process. Every piece of wood is different. Every design presents new challenges. He picked up a small, smooth piece of dark wood. This is ebony. Incredibly dense, incredibly beautiful. Difficult to work with, but the results are always stunning. He showed her different types of wood, explaining their origins, their properties, the stories they held. Ilara listened intently, fascinated by his knowledge and the quiet passion in his voice. She noticed the way his hands, strong and capable, handled the wood with such tenderness, such respect. And what about this one? Ilara asked, pointing to the large, unfinished bird, its wings poised for flight. It's magnificent. That's a peregrine falcon, Liam explained, his gaze softening as he looked at the sculpture. I've been working on it for months. It's a challenge to capture that sense of power and grace, that moment just before it dives. He hesitated and continued, It's for my sister. She's a bird watcher, and falcons have always been her favorite. That's a beautiful gift, Ilara said, her heart warming at the thought. It speaks volumes about how much you care for her. Liam gave a small, almost shy smile. Family's important. She lives quite far away now, but we're still close. He paused, then looked at Ilara. Tell me more about your family, Ilara. Do you have siblings? Ilara leaned against a workbench, a comfortable silence settling between them for a moment before she spoke. I'm an only child. My parents are wonderful, always supportive. They live a few towns over, and I try to visit them regularly. They're my biggest cheerleaders for the crumbly corner. She laughed softly. My mom still tries to help me bake sometimes, which usually means adding extra chocolate chips when I'm not looking. Liam chuckled. Sounds like a wonderful mom. She is, Ilara confirmed, a fond smile on her face. They instilled in me a love for creating, for making things with my hands, though theirs was more gardening and pottery, not baking. She looked around his workshop again. It makes me think of my dad's old shed, full of tools and projects, though yours is significantly more organized and artistic. That's high praise, Liam said, his eyes twinkling. Perhaps I could tempt you with a cup of tea. I have a small kettle and some biscuits over here. I'd love that, Ilara replied, grateful for the offer. Her throat was a little dry from all the talking and absorbing. Liam led her to a cozy corner of the workshop, where a small, well-worn armchair sat beside a low table. He brewed 2 cups of fragrant Earl Grey tea and offered her a plate of simple, crumbly shortbread biscuits. They sat, sipping their tea, the hum of the workshop around them a gentle backdrop. The conversation flowed easily, moving from their shared passions to broader topics. They talked about books they loved, places they'd traveled, and the simple joys of life. Alara found herself sharing stories about particularly challenging bakes and the satisfaction of seeing a customer's face light up at a perfect pastry. Liam spoke of the patience required for intricate carvings and the unexpected moments of inspiration that would strike him. "Do you ever get tired of it?" Alara asked, gesturing to the wood around them. "Of the constant precision, the dust, the solitude?" Liam considered her question, stirring his tea. "Sometimes, the solitude can be a lot. But the work itself, no, never. There's always a new challenge, a new piece of wood calling to me. And the dust is just part of the process." He smiled. "Do you ever get tired of the early mornings, the heat of the ovens, the endless demand for cinnamon rolls?" Alara laughed. "The early mornings are definitely a test of endurance. But the smell of fresh bread baking, the first bite of a warm pastry, it makes it all worth it. It's like magic, turning simple ingredients into something comforting and delicious. And the cinnamon rolls? They're my signature. People queue for them. I could never get tired of that." "I can imagine," Liam said, his gaze lingering on her. "You have such a passion for what you do, Alara. It's beautiful to watch." A blush crept up Alara's neck at his sincere compliment. "You too, Liam. Your passion is evident in every piece here. The detail, the life you breathe into the wood, it's truly remarkable." The afternoon light began to mellow, casting long shadows across the workshop floor. The air grew cooler, and a comfortable intimacy settled between them. They had spent hours talking, sharing, and listening, and Alara felt a profound sense of connection, as if she'd known Liam for much longer than a day and a half. As the last rays of sun painted the wood a warm, golden hue, Alara knew it was time to go. "I should probably head home," she said, a hint of reluctance in her voice. "Thank you for the tour, Liam, and the tea. It was truly wonderful." "The pleasure was all mine, Alara," he replied, standing as she did. "I'm glad you came." He walked her to the door, the small wooden bird she'd received yesterday still sitting on her bedside table, a silent witness to their burgeoning connection. As they stood at the threshold, the world outside beginning to dim, a gentle quiet fell between them. Alara looked up at him, her heart thrumming a soft rhythm. His hazel eyes, usually so calm, held a warmth that mirrored her own feelings. There was an unspoken question, a silent invitation in the air. Liam reached out, his hand gently cupping her cheek. His touch was warm, surprisingly tender, sending a shiver of delight through her. He leaned in slowly, giving her ample time to react, to pull away if she wished. But Alara didn't want to pull away. She leaned into his touch, her eyes fluttering closed as his breath, smelling faintly of wood and tea, brushed her lips. Then, his lips met hers. It was a soft, tentative kiss at first, a gentle exploration, a whisper of connection. It wasn't rushed or demanding, but incredibly sweet, filled with a quiet reverence that made Alara's knees feel a little weak. She responded with equal tenderness, her hand lifting to rest lightly on his arm, feeling the solid warmth of his skin beneath her fingers. The kiss deepened, just slightly, becoming a silent promise, a confirmation of the growing affection between them. It was a kiss that spoke of patience, of understanding, of a burgeoning love that felt both new and ancient, like coming home. When they finally broke apart, it was with a soft sigh, their foreheads resting against each other. Alara's cheeks were flushed, and her heart was beating a joyful rhythm against her ribs. Liam's eyes, when they met hers again, were full of a gentle adoration that made her feel cherished, truly seen. "Good night, Alara," Liam murmured, his voice a low, warm rumble. "Good night, Liam," she whispered back, a dreamy smile on her face. He squeezed her hand gently before letting go, and she stepped out into the twilight, feeling as if she were floating. The world seemed sharper, colors more vibrant, sounds clearer. The scent of wood and the lingering taste of tea and Liam's kiss stayed with her as she walked home, a warmth spreading through her veins. Back in her apartment, Alara touched her lips, still tingling from the kiss. She felt a profound sense of peace, a quiet joy that settled deep within her. She was falling for Liam. Slowly, gently, like the settling of dust in his workshop, or the patient rising of dough in her bakery. It was a comfortable, natural descent, one she welcomed with an open heart. She looked at the wooden bird on her bedside table, and then at the new one in her mind, the majestic peregrine falcon. She wondered what other stories Liam had yet to tell, what other beautiful creations he had yet to carve, what other facets of his gentle soul she had yet to discover. As she prepared for bed, she thought of his strong, kind hands, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the quiet strength of his presence. Today had been even more wonderful than yesterday. She drifted off to sleep, not just dreaming of cinnamon rolls and wooden birds, but of hazel eyes that held a world of kindness, of shared laughter and whispered words, and the gentle, comforting presence of a man who was no longer just waiting in the wings, but was steadily, beautifully, stepping into the center of her world. The journey was just beginning, and Alara knew with a certainty that hummed through her very being that it would be the most heartwarming adventure of her life. The journey was just beginning, and Alara knew with a certainty that hummed through her very being that it would be the most heartwarming adventure of her life. Alara woke with a smile already forming on her lips, a lightness in her chest she hadn't felt in years. The dreams of cinnamon and carved birds lingered, but it was Finn's eyes, the way his hand had brushed hers, the shared laughter, that truly colored her morning. She stretched, the duvet pooling around her, and reached for her phone. A message from Finn. "Morning, Alara. Hope you slept well. Thinking of you and those wonderful cinnamon rolls. Maybe another adventure today. My shop is open if you fancy a visit later." Her heart fluttered. Another adventure. She typed back, "Morning, Finn. Slept wonderfully, thank you. And yes, an adventure sounds perfect. I'll pop by after the morning rush at the bakery." Alara felt an extra spring in her step at the bakery. The aroma of fresh bread usually grounded her, but today it seemed to lift her. She hummed as she kneaded dough, her mind replaying snippets of yesterday. Later, she arrived at Finn's workshop, the scent of wood and sawdust a comforting balm. Finn was sanding a small, intricate bird, his brow furrowed in concentration. He looked up, his hazel eyes crinkling at the corners. "Alara, come in, come in." He wiped his hands on his apron. "Just finishing up a custom order. This little guy is going to a child's nursery." She admired the piece. "It's beautiful, Finn. You put so much love into your work." "And you, into yours," he replied, gesturing towards the bag she carried. "Cinnamon rolls?" She laughed. "Of course. Thought you might need some sustenance after all that careful sanding." They shared the rolls, sitting on two stools amidst half-finished carvings and tools. They talked about their work, the rhythm of their days. Alara found herself opening up about her art, not just the baking, but the sketches she kept hidden, the desire to create something more lasting, more personal. "You should show me sometime," Finn said, his voice gentle. "I bet they're wonderful." His encouragement felt like a warm sunbeam. She felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long time. Their next adventure was a picnic by the river, Finn suggesting a spot he knew, tucked away under ancient willow trees. Alara packed a basket filled with fresh bread, cheese, fruit, and her special lemon tarts. Finn brought a thermos of hot tea and a handmade wooden board for the cheese. They talked for hours. Finn shared stories of his childhood, growing up in a small town, learning to carve from his grandfather. He spoke of the quiet satisfaction of working with his hands, of turning a raw piece of wood into something beautiful and meaningful. Alara in turn found herself sharing more about her past, the loss of her parents, her struggles to find her footing, and how baking had become her anchor. She even spoke, hesitantly, about her dream of one day having a small art studio where she could paint and sculpt, not just bake. "Why haven't you pursued it more seriously?" Finn asked, his gaze earnest. "Fear, I suppose," she admitted, looking out at the shimmering river. "Fear of not being good enough. Fear of failure. Baking feels safe, familiar. Art feels exposed." Finn reached across the blanket and gently took her hand. "But to create is to expose a part of your soul, Alara. And from what I've seen of your baking, your soul is full of beauty and warmth. I have no doubt your art would be just as extraordinary." His touch was electric, his words a balm to her long-held insecurities. She squeezed his hand, a silent thank you. Weeks turned into a month. Their dates became more frequent, more intimate. They explored local antique shops, walked through blooming botanical gardens, and spent cozy evenings at Alara's apartment, cooking together, the aroma of garlic and herbs mingling with shared laughter. Finn even started bringing her small, unfinished pieces of wood, encouraging her to sketch ideas for him, blending their creative worlds. One rainy Saturday, Finn brought over a stack of his old sketchbooks, filled with intricate designs and beautiful studies of nature. Elara, emboldened, finally showed him some of her own sketches. Charcoal portraits, vibrant watercolors of flowers, abstract patterns. Finn pored over them, his reactions genuine and full of admiration. "Elara, these are incredible. Why have you kept them hidden?" "I don't know," she whispered, a blush rising on her cheeks. "They just felt private." He looked at her, his hazel eyes soft. "They're meant to be seen. You have a gift." That evening, as they sat by the window, listening to the rain, Finn picked up a small, smooth piece of oak. "What should I carve?" he asked, looking at her. "Carve something that makes you happy," she suggested. He smiled. "You make me happy." He then began to sketch lightly on the wood, his gaze occasionally drifting to her. Elara watched, captivated, as a delicate, intricate bird began to take shape under his skilled hands, its wings slightly unfurled, as if caught mid-flight. It was a mirror of the bird she had dreamed of that first night. Elara received an invitation to exhibit at a local artisan fair, a small, intimate event for emerging artists. It was exactly the kind of opportunity she'd always dreamed of, yet the old anxieties flared. She told Finn about it, her voice laced with trepidation. "It's a wonderful chance, Elara," Finn exclaimed, his face lighting up. "You, Chave, to do it." "But what if no one likes my work?" she confessed, twisting her hands. "What if it's not good enough? My baking people understand. Art feels so much more subjective." Finn took her hands, his grip firm and reassuring. "Elara, you are an artist. Your heart pours into everything you create. People will see that. I see it. Let me help you. We can set up your display together, choose your best pieces." His unwavering belief in her was a powerful antidote to her self-doubt. With Finn by her side helping her frame her watercolors, select her charcoal sketches, and even design a small stand for her pieces, the fear began to recede, replaced by a tentative excitement. He even carved a small wooden sign for her booth, Elara's Creations. The day of the fair arrived. Elara felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. Finn was there, a steady presence, offering encouraging smiles and quiet support. To her surprise and immense relief, her art was well received. People complimented her use of color, the emotion in her portraits. She even sold a few pieces, a feeling of validation washing over her that was entirely new and exhilarating. As the fair wound down, Finn found her, pulling her into a warm embrace. "See? I told you. You were wonderful." She leaned into him, feeling utterly safe and cherished. "I couldn't have done it without you, Finn." "You could have," he corrected gently. "But I'm glad I got to be there." Their relationship deepened, a quiet, profound understanding blossoming between them. They spent holidays together, shared meals with Elara's few close friends, who adored Finn immediately, and found comfort in simply being in each other's presence. Elara realized she was falling irrevocably in love with Finn, and the thought no longer terrified her. It felt like coming home. One crisp autumn evening, after a long walk through a park ablaze with fall colors, they were back at Elara's apartment, sipping hot cider. The air was filled with the scent of cinnamon and wood smoke from the fireplace. Finn turned to her, his expression earnest. "Elara," he began, his voice a little softer than usual. "I have something I want to tell you." Her heart beat a little faster. "Yes. I've never met anyone like you," he said, his gaze unwavering. "You bring such warmth and light into my life. You inspire me, you make me laugh, and you make me feel more myself than I ever have." He paused, then took her hands, his thumb gently stroking her skin. "I'm in love with you, Elara. Completely and utterly." Elara's eyes welled up, a wave of emotion washing over her. The words she had longed to hear, the truth she held in her own heart, were finally spoken aloud. "Oh, Finn," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I love you too, more than I ever thought possible." He pulled her into a tender kiss, a kiss filled with promises, with shared dreams, with the comfort of a love that had grown so beautifully and organically. It wasn't a sudden explosion, but a gentle, steady unfolding, like a flower blooming in slow motion, each petal revealing more beauty than the last. Their confession opened a new chapter, one filled with even deeper connection. They began to talk about the future, not just hypothetically, but with a tangible sense of shared purpose. One afternoon, Finn came to Alara's apartment, a large, beautifully crafted wooden box in his hands. It was made of polished cherry wood, with intricate carvings of cinnamon sticks, swirling dough, and tiny delicate birds on the lid. "What's this?" Alara asked, her breath catching in her throat. "It's for your art supplies," he said, setting it down gently. "A place to keep your sketches, your paints, your brushes, and," he added, opening the lid to reveal a hidden compartment, "a place for your dreams." Inside, nestled on a velvet lining, was a small, perfectly carved wooden key. "A key?" she asked, tears blurring her vision. "To our future," he explained, taking her hand. "I want to build a life with you, Alara. A home where your art can flourish, where my carvings can find their inspiration, where we can wake up every morning to the smell of your cinnamon rolls and the sound of shared laughter." He took a deep breath, his hazel eyes shining with hope. "Alara, will you marry me?" Alara gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. This wasn't a grand public proposal, but something infinitely more intimate, more feminine. It was in the handcrafted box, in the symbolism of the key, in the steady, unwavering love in his eyes. "Yes, Finn! Yes, 1,000 times yes!" she cried, throwing her arms around him. They held each other tight, the wooden box with its key to their future resting between them. The wedding was a small, intimate affair, held in a sun-dappled garden, surrounded by their closest friends and family. Alara wore a simple, elegant dress, and Finn looked impossibly handsome in his suit. Their vows were heartfelt, simple promises of love, support, and shared adventures. Soon after, they found a charming old house, just on the outskirts of town, with a spacious kitchen perfect for Alara's baking experiments, and a detached shed that Finn envisioned as his expanded workshop. It even had a sunroom, which Alara immediately claimed as her future art studio. They spent months transforming the house into their home, each piece of furniture, each splash of paint, a joint decision, a shared dream taking shape. Finn carved intricate wooden details for the mantelpiece, shelves for Alara's cookbook collection, and a beautiful, sturdy dining table where they would share countless meals. Alara, in turn, painted vibrant landscapes to hang on their walls, baked celebratory treats for every milestone, and filled their home with the comforting aroma of her culinary creations. Her art began to flourish, no longer hidden away. She opened a small online shop for her paintings and illustrations, encouraged by Finn, and even started hosting local workshops, sharing her passion. Finn's workshop hummed with new life, his carvings becoming even more inspired, often depicting scenes from their shared life. A baker's hands kneading dough, a pair of birds nestled together, a house with smoke curling from its chimney. Their mornings often started with Alara baking a fresh batch of cinnamon rolls, the sweet, spicy scent drifting through the house, coaxing Finn from his sleep. He would find her in the kitchen, flour dusting her apron, and pull her into a gentle hug, their daily ritual. "Morning, my love," he'd murmur, pressing a kiss to her hair. "Smells like home." And it was. Their home was a symphony of their shared passions, a haven of comfort and creativity. Their love story, once a quiet whisper, had blossomed into a vibrant, living masterpiece, a testament to the power of kindness, shared dreams, and the gentle, unwavering certainty that they had found their forever in each other. Alara would often sit in her sunroom studio, a cup of tea beside her, sketching new ideas, the scent of fresh wood from Finn's workshop mingling with the faint, sweet memory of cinnamon from the kitchen. She'd look out at their garden, at the life they had built together, and a profound sense of gratitude would settle in her heart. The journey had indeed been the most heartwarming adventure of her life. And as she watched Finn walk in from his workshop, covered in a fine layer of sawdust, a warm smile on his face, she knew, with a certainty that hummed through her very being, that their adventure was far from over. It was just beautifully, wonderfully, beginning anew each and every day. And as she drifted off to sleep later that night, the scent of cinnamon and cedar wood a comforting blend in their home, she knew her dreams were no longer just dreams. They were the vibrant, living tapestry of her beautiful, full, and utterly heartwarming life, woven with hazel eyes, shared laughter, and the gentle, comforting presence of her Finn, forever at the center of her world.